Okay. You good?
Everybody's staring. Everybody's staring.
Okay. State whether each function is a linear function, right? Yes or no. So a linear function is a function that is a straight line or graphs as a straight line. So when we look at these, that's what we're looking for. The first one, it just says h of x equals 23. That would be a straight line at y equals 23. It would look like this. So yes, it is a straight line. Yes, it's linear. Then number 2, we have a slope of 2/3 plus 0, so it just goes through the origin. This would be a straight line kind of like this. And so yes, this is linear as well. Your slope is 2/3, so it's in the slope-intercept form, so we can tell that it's linear. Whoa, it got blurry. No, there we go. The next one, it has x in the denominator. That's one of the things that can't happen, so no, this is not linear. Because x is in the denominator.
What would it look like? Or could this not happen?
I don't know. Yes.
What if it was a y denominator?
I would say no as well, because in order to get this out of the denominator, you'd have to multiply both sides by x, and then you get a situation that's x times y, which can't happen either. So, yeah. Same thing.
How do you know that number 2 was linear?
Number 2, it's in slope-intercept form. So this would be your slope. It would be plus 0. It would just go through the origin. So there was a couple things that couldn't happen. If it has an exponent, it's not linear. If it has an x in the denominator, it was not linear. If you have x times y, it's not linear. I think that was it. Like square root. Okay, write each equation in standard form. Standard form, I'm running out of room here already. If you've printed full pages, you're probably going to thank yourself on this one. Standard form looks like this. Ax plus by equals c. That's standard form. Remember, the a can't be negative, and you also can't have fractions at all throughout this for it to be in standard form. So, if you can squeeze the work in, have fun. But just for the clarity of like instruction, I'm going to be writing a little bit bigger on the post-it note.
You said no fractions and no negatives?
Correct. So for this one, we need to get the x on the other side, so we're subtracting 7x from both sides to get negative 7x plus y equals negative 5. So I'm working toward getting into this format by putting the x and y on this side. Now I can't have that negative there, so I'm going to multiply this whole thing by negative 1 to get positive 7x minus y equals positive 5. And then at this point, I'm done. And then my a, b, and c, a is 7, b is negative 1, and c is 5. Like I said, if you can squeeze it in there, great. If you want to use like an extra sheet of paper to show the work, that's great too. Yes?
Did you flip the 1 and the negative 5? I'm confused about that.
So I put the 7x on the other side by subtracting 7x from both sides. I kept the negative 5 over here, and then when I multiplied everything by negative 1, that's when it turned the opposite side. Okay, next, we are going to do the same thing, and again, I'm just using this for the extra space. I'm going to subtract 3/8 x from both sides to get x on the other side. So then I have negative 3/8 x plus y equals 5. Then from here, I can't have that negative, and I also can't have this fraction. So what I'm going to do to get rid of that is multiply this whole thing by negative 8. If I multiply it by this denominator 8, and I'm choosing negative 8 so I can also get rid of the negative at the same time. Negative 8 times negative 3/8. You might be able to do that in your head. It's just going to be 3. but negative 8 over 1 times negative 3 over 8. Negative 8 and positive 8. To simplify this, divided by 8, I get negative 1 and 1. Negative 1 times 3 is positive 3. 3 over 1 is 3. So negative 8 times negative 3/8 is 3x plus negative 8 times y, negative 8y, and then negative 8 times 5 is going to be negative 40.
Can't have.
You can't have a negative for the first coefficient.
Oh.
Yeah, you can have negatives throughout, but not the first one. So then once we're done with that, 3x plus negative 8y equals negative 40. Our a is 3, b is negative 8, and this is negative 40. Yes?
Would the sign not just change to a minus sign?
Or you could write it as a negative, minus sign. Next one's actually easy. I don't even need the extra paper. This one doesn't have an x at all. That means it's 0 times x, or it has a slope of 0. I do need to get this constant over on the other side, so I'm going to add 5 to both sides, get 3y equals 5. 3y equals 5. And it would be 0 times x, which is just 0. So our a is 0, our b is 3, and our c is 5. And last but not least, of course, they give us fractions. First thing I need to do is get the y on the other side, so I'm going to add 2/7 to the other side. Add 2/7 y. So I get x plus 2/7 y equals 3/4. I can't have those fractions. I need to get rid of them. So if there was the same denominator here, I would multiply by that same denominator, like 7. If this was 7 as well, I just multiply by 7 and I'd get 2 and 3 as my whole numbers. I don't have that situation. I have two different denominators. So what I'm going to do is multiply by the least common multiple of those two denominators, which is 28. So 7 and 4, the least common multiple is 28. So I'm multiplying this entire thing by 28. And that will give me whole numbers. So 28 times x, that's easy. It's 28x. Then I need to do 28 times 2/7. 28 over 1 times 2/7. Simplifying, 28 and 7 can both be divided by 7, so I get 4 and 1. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 over 1 is 8. So I get 8y. And then I need to do 28 times 3/4. 28 and 4 divided by 4 would be 7 and 1. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 over 1 is just 21. So here we go. Their standard form. So 28x plus 8y equals 21. Get 28, 8, and 21. Next, still a couple people writing. Next, gets a little bit easier. Find the x and y intercept of each equation and then graph using the x and y intercepts. Okay, so when we find the x intercept, abbreviating here, we put y equal to 0. And then when we find the y intercept, we put x equals to 0. So I made this little chart here. So we're going to use this equation. They give us y equals 2x plus 4. So y equals 2x plus 4. When y equals 0, I'll plug in 0 for y and then solve for x. And so x equals negative 2, so then y equals 0, negative 2, 0 is my x-intercept. For the y-intercept, it's when x equals 0, so using the same equation, we're going to plug in 0 for x. Y equals 2 times 0 plus 4. 2 times 0 is just 0, so y equals 4, and we'd get 0, 4.
You graph those?
And then you graph those, yes. Negative 2, 0, and 0, 4. 1, 2, 3. And then graph it. Honestly, if they just said graph this line, we really wouldn't go through all these steps. It just says graph using the x and y intercepts, and that's why we went through the steps. If you notice the equation of the line 2x plus 4, we could just graph the y-intercept and then graph the slope. And then the next one is the same process. X-intercept is when y equals 0, and then y-intercept is when x equals 0. So here's the equation, 2x plus 7y equals 14. I'm going to plug in 0 for y in the first one. 2x plus 7 times 0 equals 14. 7 times 0 is just 0. 2x equals 14, so x equals 7, and I get 7, 0. And then for y-intercept, I plug in 0 for x, 2 times 0, plus 7y equals 14, y equals 2. So we get 0, 2. And then we graph those numbers. Who's that? Maybe someone coming back from testing? Hello, welcome. How was it? Was it easy or hard? Harder than FSA?
Yeah.
Really? Is it supposed to be a baseline test though? I don't know what it's supposed to be.
It's a pre-assessment, right? They should give you, not the exact, but similar questions when you take it near the end of the year.
Yeah,
That's
I guess.
the point of it, is to monitor your growth.
Is that what your teacher said?
That's what my mom says.
Oh, got it.
She works for schools and stuff.
Got it.
It's like pre-assessment, see where you are, and tracking how much you grow. in
Got it.
school.
Because we're already a month into school though. They didn't
I don't
pre-set.
know yet.
They should just do the first week. Like, hello, welcome.
I just had testing.
Okay. Just remember to put your phone up and then jump in with us. Okay. Now on the other side, we are writing an equation in slope-intercept form. This has to do with parallel and perpendicular lines. Just a note, parallel lines have the same slope. So if we're told that a line is parallel to another, we're looking for the same slope, we're going to use the same slope. And then perpendicular is an opposite reciprocal. And I'll show you what that means. So for example, if you have 3/5 as a slope, a line perpendicular to that would have a slope of negative 5/3. So opposite sign and you flip the fraction. Okay. For the first one, it says a line parallel to this line and has a y-intercept of 4. So parallel, you would have the same slope. And then a y-intercept of 4, that's just going to go right in the equation. So for the first one, it's pretty simple. Y equals 4x plus 4. And we're done. It doesn't stay that easy, but that's just an easy example.
It should.
What's that?
So it should stay
It should stay that easy, but it doesn't. Okay. The next one, it says, I'm going to use my sticky note for this. If you want to squeeze in your work, you're more than welcome to. Parallel to this, so our slope is going to be -3. It'll be the same slope. And it says the x-intercept at 4. So our coordinates would look like this, 4, 0. Because it's the x-intercept and not the y-intercept, we can't just plug it in like this, because this here is the y-intercept. We have to find what the y-intercept is. The best way to do this is to use the point slope formula. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is the formula we're going to use for like the next 5 problems. And then from here, we're going to plug in our slope, which is -3, and then plug in our x1, y1. So y minus 0 equals -3, x minus 4. And then from here, we could just solve it for y, and we'll get our slope-intercept form. So y minus 0 is just y. -3 times x is -3x. -3 times -4 is 12. And in this case, we are done. So our formula, y equals -3x plus 12. Yes.
In the formula, when you're plugging in for x1, is that the x-intercept number, or?
Yeah, so I'm using these coordinates. These coordinates that they give you could change, but the x-intercept.
Because the original equation also had 4.
The original equation also. This is separate
No, for number 11.
for number
It
11.
says y
Oh,
plus-
that's a coincidence. Well, that would be the y-intercept for that line. It's not the same line, but they're parallel. Okay, number 12. Same process. Now we have a fraction in there. It gives us a slope of -2/3, x-intercept of 3, so our coordinates would be 3, 0, and then we'll use these in the point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So y minus, the y is 0. Slope, -2/3, x minus 3. Then as long as we have everything plugged in right, we can just simplify it, solve it for y. -2/3 times x will be -2/3 x. -2/3 times -3, you may be able to do that in your head. It's going to be +2. If you can't, then -2/3 times -3/1. 3 and -3 are just 1 and -1. -2 times -1 is 2/1. So plus 2. Y equals -2/3 x plus 2. Next. Okay, next, same process. Now it's saying slope of -5 passes through these points. Same equation, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Our slope is -5, we'll put that in for m, and then these are our points. This is x1, y1. So y minus our y, -5, x minus our x. Ooh, thanks. Add the opposite, so y plus 8, -5x. Add the opposite, -5 times +3 would be -15,
Is that x?
minus -3.
Oh, okay.
Then from here, it's looking good. We just need to get this 8 over here. So subtracting 8 from both sides, and then y equals -5x minus 23. Next.
Or,
Oh wait, what?
um, okay.
Next. Actually, I don't even need room for work on this one. Slope of 0, so that'd be 0x, passes through the point 0, -10. This is x, this is y, so this is our y-intercept. So our equation here would be y equals 0x minus 10, which 0x is just 0. So our equation actually is just y equals -10. Perpendicular. This is the first time perpendicular is coming up in these problems. Remember, perpendicular, we're looking for the slope, but it would be a negative reciprocal of that. So flipping -1/2 and making it positive, our slope is going to be +2, or 2/1, which is just 2. And then it says it passes through these points. So using this same equation, point slope, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus our y is 3, slope is 2, and x minus 2. From here, simplify it. Then add 3 to both sides. And I get this. So the answer here, y equals 2x minus 1. Next. Katie, can you wait till we're done with notes to go to the restroom, please? Okay. Okay. Perpendicular to this, we need a slope that's the negative reciprocal. So the slope that's the negative reciprocal of +3 would be -1/3. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus -1 equals -1/3. Let me get this. And then simplify. Y plus 1 equals -1/3 times x would be -1/3 x. -1/3 times -6. Again, you may be able to do that in your head.
How'd you get -1/3?
It says it's perpendicular to this. The slope here would be 3/1. So flip that and make a negative would be -1/3. Then once we're here, 3 and -6 can both be divided by 3. I get 1 and -2. -1 times -2 equals 2/1, which is 2. So plus 2 right here. Then subtract 1 from both sides. Y equals -1/3 x plus 1. Do you remember this from geometry at all?
Yeah.
It does come up. Next. Parallel. So now we're dealing with the same slope. So our slope is just going to be -2. Passes through these points. So this one's actually pretty simple. Y minus our y. Slope is -2. X minus -3. Then add 5. Y equals -2x minus 1. And next. next. Perpendicular to this. Perpendicular, the slope would be the negative reciprocal, so it would be -4/1 or -4. Passes through the point 0, 0. That's the origin. That is the x and y intercept. So our equation would be y equals -4x plus 0, which obviously we don't write that, so y equals -4x. And we're done. Okay, so the homework on this is on Schoology. The homework is mostly this and maybe some of these x and y's. It is multiple choice, so it'll be a little bit easier than trying to come up with it all by yourself. Okay, I'm going to have you use your phones for homework, so get your phones, get logged on, get started. If you have questions, let me know.